When you receive the unit, it's going to have a panel on the front. That panel's been removed, and you're going to see this on the inside. There's actually a panel here that goes on that has the wiring diagram here. That goes on here, and this is how you're going to see the unit when you take that front panel off. To connect it, these are the water hoses here. Water in and water out. They are labeled over here. And all you have to do is make sure the gaskets are in here. And you connect the water in, the riser, water supply, and then the water return hose goes to the return part of the riser. This is a 220 volt. It's plugged in here. You just plug it in. Now that you've got the water on and you've got your electrical on, you have to make sure your thermostat is connected. On this unit, the thermostat is mounted here, but on most units, it's a wall-mounted thermostat. So there's a thermostat connection that comes right to here on this green Molex connector. And at this point, you're good to go. You're good to turn it on and turn the breaker on, and what will happen now is you'll see the board, a bunch of LEDs light up on the board. Now to put it into heating mode, adjust your thermostat to heat, turn the thermostat up so your heat comes on, and you'll see the W LED come on. Then when the W LED comes on, this LED in the center left, LED 2 marked HT, comes on, and you'll get, that's indicating the board is recognizing a heat call. Your low fan light, which is the next one over to it, will come on, and if the heat call doesn't satisfy within 10 minutes, your LED, I think it's LED 8, which is your high fan. So you get high fan after 10 minutes of a continuous heating call. At that point, everything is good to go. You should feel heat coming out of the unit and the fan is running. Typically there's no fault codes on heating, but we'll go into cooling next. Next you do your cooling startup, and you go to your thermostat, set your thermostat for cooling, and turn it down below the room temperature. And depending on your thermostat, you'll get an indication either on your display or on a light here that you're in cooling mode. And depending on where it is in its sequencing, that may take up to 5 minutes for it to come on. In cooling mode, you'll get your Y and your G LEDs coming on right here. And then the board will have this top left LED 1 come on. It's CL. That's the board recognizing a cooling call. And once that times out, the CM LED lights and your compressor comes on, and you're now in cooling mode. For startup, we have a startup sheet here. All you're doing in startup is you're checking operation. You're ensuring that your cooling is working, your heating is working, and your fan operation is correct. No other checks have to be done. The units are thoroughly inspected at the plant and started up and run. This is the sheet that I use here for startup. Date, project name, location, tech name. You want to know your outside temp, and you want temperature, and you want to know your loop fluid temperature. You also want to ensure that your building voltage is okay. You're plus or minus 10% as to your rating plate voltage. Then on here is the unit tag. The most important things are the model number and the serial number. We have a line for ERV, but there is no ERV connected here. But you want to know your return air temperature. You can get that either through a separate thermometer or just by checking your thermostat. And now we got to back up here a little bit. When it's in cooling, you want to check the air temperature of the unit coming out of the unit. And depending on your return air temperature, there will be probably about a 15 degree Fahrenheit difference. The cooling will be about 15 degrees lower. If the return air temperature is 73, you'll probably get a cooling temperature of about 58, something like that. And then you check your heating. You put your thermostat into heating mode, turn it up so you have an indication your heat is working. And what you'll do at that point, like we said before, your W LED will come on, your heat LED will come on, and your low fan LED. These units run low fan for the first 10 minutes of a continuous heating call, and then they switch to high fan if it's still not satisfied. And at that point, you'll be hearing the fan operation. You'll know the low fan operation is correct, check box. High fan operation is correct, check it. And in the AC mode, when you're doing your cooling, you want to make sure you have a delta T of approximately 15. And it shouldn't be higher than 15. It should be between about 8 and 15, and then you know you're doing well. There are fault codes in this unit that I mentioned earlier on, and there's a red LED here. A single red flash is a heartbeat, and that's indicating that everything is good. When you get flash codes between 2 and 7, there's something going on, and depending on how many times it's happened in a 24-hour period, you might get a hard lockout of the unit. So it's always good to check. If you're on hard lockout, it's always good to check your fault code, because it'll tell you. If you go to the chart here, these are your flash codes. Flash code 1, that's your heartbeat, cool, call in place. That's good. Flash code 2, low refrigerant temperature, usually related to dirty air filters or dirty coils. High water temperature, that's usually related to low water flow or possibly dirty water. Low air discharge temp is also another reason. Dirty filters, dirty coil, something like that. Flash code 5, low refrigerant pressure. Now that's a little bit more involved, because that might indicate a refrigerant leak. So that's always good to, you'll have to put your refrigerant gauges on and see where that's at. High refrigerant pressure is flash code 6. Usually related to low water flow, high water temperature entering, usually above 125 Fahrenheit. And those things will have to be addressed, or it'll be a repeat fault code and you'll be back again. And flash code 7 is condensate overflow, and that is dependent whether you have a condensate overflow sensor or not. And that usually indicates that your drain pan is not draining correctly. And that's about it.